The rookie quarterback, yes, that's Sanders, is still technically sitting on the Browns' bench. No highlight reels. No Sunday heroics. Just practice, tape, and growth. But behind the scenes, there's a story bubbling to the surface that's threatening to erupt into a full-blown quarterback controversy. Not just for Cleveland, but for the entire league. Because the Cincinnati Bengals are circling. Yep, while the Browns are trying to keep their house in order, the Bengals are reportedly applying pressure on the NFL to facilitate a trade. Why? Because while the rest of the league is sleeping on Shedeur, Cincinnati sees the future, and they're ready to grab it before anyone else does. Let's rewind for a second. Shedeur Sanders has kept a relatively low profile since entering the NFL, especially compared to the pre-draft circus that surrounded him. Some people question his transition from Colorado to the pros. Others rolled their eyes, called him overhyped, too raw, too connected to Deion's name. And then he got to work. No flashy decorations. No Twitter drama. Just a rookie learning the game the hard way by lining up against the Browns' first-team defense every week. That's Myles Garrett. That's Denzel Ward.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
That's Grant Delpit. All-pro talent. Elite speed. Unrelenting pressure. That's the crucible Shedeur Sanders was thrown into. And instead of crumbling, he started cooking. In a candid interview, one that's now being replayed in front offices across the league, Shedeur broke the silence on his role. No complaints. No blame. Just an honest, self-aware, refreshingly mature breakdown of what he's been doing on the scout team. Studying tape. Building chemistry. Understanding concepts. Leading the practice huddle like it's game day. He didn't try to sell himself. He didn't have to, because in between the lines of that interview, something became clear. This kid is ready. Maybe not in the throw him into a playoff game tomorrow sense, but in the foundational franchise level. We want this guy in our locker room for the next decade sense. And guess who noticed? The Bengals. That's right. The team with Joe Burrow. The team with Super Bowl ambitions. The team that, on the surface, shouldn't be quarterback shopping at all. And yet, they're quietly pushing, pressuring, asking questions. Look at the Browns like, you don't even know what you have sitting on your bench. Now let's be real. This isn't about Burrow losing his job. Let's not start that rumor mill. But the Bengals are playing chess. Burrow's health is a concern. The backup situation? Let's just say it doesn't inspire confidence. And in a league where quarterback depth is now as important as quarterback talent, Sanders is starting to look like a steal. If not now, then soon. And that's where things get spicy. Because the Browns, they're walking a tightrope. On one side, they've invested everything in Deshaun Watson, money, image, the locker room dynamic. On the other, they've got a young, hungry, already impressing quarterback quietly developing in the shadows. It's the NFL version of, you've got food at home. But the Bengals, they're like, well, DoorDash it, thanks. Let's break this down. Why is Shedeur Sanders suddenly the NFL's most interesting man in the film room? Because he's not complaining. He's not politicking. He's doing something way more dangerous to the status quo. He's getting better. Quietly. Daily. He's practicing against one of the top defenses in the league. Every single day. He's building rapport with the guys buried in the depth chart. Players just like him, who are hungry and gritty and trying to earn every inch. And instead of seeing that as a downgrade, Sanders called him his scout team family. Let that sink in. He's a rookie with no guaranteed snaps, no marketing campaign, no Instagram hype machine. And he's focused on culture, on chemistry, on growth. That's terrifying, because that's the mindset of a future leader. That's how Joe Montana talked as a backup. How Tom Brady studied as a sixth-round pick. How Jalen Hurts handled being benched at Alabama. It's that next-level awareness that you just can't teach. And while the Browns are still juggling quarterback controversies like a circus act, the Bengals are watching Sanders like he's an undervalued blue-chip stock. Because let's be real, if he's thriving under Cleveland's chaos, imagine what he could do in an organization with structure. with purpose, with a real plan. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The Browns may not be able to keep him, because once a quarterback starts showing signs like this, once the league hears you speak like that, the sharks start circling. Even if Shedeur never asked for a trade, even if he's content to wait his turn, there's a clock ticking now. Teams see what he is, what he could be, what Cleveland doesn't seem to fully appreciate. And if Cincinnati is already applying pressure, how long before other teams start making phone calls? Teams with aging starters, teams with uncertain futures, teams looking for the right kind of leader, not just the flashiest arm. And what happens then? Do the Browns keep hiding Shedeur behind Watson's massive, immovable contract? Do they sit on his value until he walks away for nothing? Or do they lean into what they have and do the one thing Cleveland has never done with quarterbacks? Plan ahead, because right now, Shedeur Sanders represents more than just a young QB developing quietly. He represents a shift. He's the embodiment of the new wave of NFL quarterbacking. Smart, articulate, team first, mentally mature, already dissecting coverages, already learning how to lead. And maybe, just maybe, Cleveland isn't the right place for him. Maybe he belongs somewhere that sees the value in that type of development. Somewhere that doesn't see a scout team assignment as waiting your turn, but as a testing ground, a forge. And if Cincinnati can pry him loose, if the Browns stumble or hesitate, or undervalue him just long enough, they might just watch a future star slip right through their fingers and fall into the hands of a division rival. The optics of that would be brutal. Imagine Shedeur Sanders in Bengals stripes, walking into First Energy Stadium in 2 years and cooking the Browns in front of a sold-out crowd that never got to see what he could be. That's the risk. And that's the difference between recognizing value early or realizing it too late. So what happens now? The Browns can deny the rumors. They can play it cool. They can say all the right things in interviews. But if Sanders keeps handling himself the way he is, calm, composed, competitive, then this storyline, it's not going away. Because this isn't just a QB battle. This is a cultural referendum. It's about which franchises truly understand how to develop leaders, and which ones are just collecting names on depth charts. And if the Bengals are smart, they won't wait for permission. They'll make their move. Quietly, aggressively, strategically, because in this league, the smart teams don't wait for talent to hit the market. They create the opportunity. So what do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders the next franchise quarterback in waiting, or just another name caught in the system? Should the Browns hold on to him no matter what, or should they cash him while the market's heating up? And are the Bengals just doing their due diligence or plotting a future power move in the AFC North? Drop your take in the comments below. Smash that subscribe button if you're living for quarterback chaos, the insider pressure, and the NFL power plays that could change the league landscape overnight. And don't forget to like this video if you think sometimes the best player on the field isn't even playing yet. Because in the NFL, it's not just about who's starting. It's about who's ready. Right now, all eyes are on Cleveland, but the energy is shifting. The Bengals aren't just watching. They're plotting. Because Shedeur isn't just impressing people. He's changing minds. One quiet rep at a time. And if you think this is all hype, let's talk development. Shedeur's entire approach is the opposite of what we typically see in rookie QBs these days. He's not impatient. He's not posting cryptic Instagram stories about playing time. He's not asking for reps he hasn't earned. Instead, he's taking what's in front of him and turning it into something meaningful. Scout team? That's not a demotion. That's a masterclass. He's reading pro defenses. He's adapting to speed. He's going up against Myles Garrett in practice. Do you understand how rare that is? Most rookies spend their early days tossing floaters in meaningless walkthroughs. This guy is dodging Defensive Player of the Year candidates like he's in a pressure simulator, and he's thriving. That's what teams like Cincinnati are really looking at. Not the stat sheet, not the pre-draft rankings. They're watching how he prepares, how he talks about the game, how his teammates respond to him. Because every team in the league is trying to crack the same code. How do you find the next great quarterback before everyone else knows he's great? Usually it's luck, a hunch, a sixth-round flyer who shocks everyone. But with Shedeur, the clues are all right there. You don't need to squint. He's humble. He's smart. He's a student of the game. And more importantly, he's not trying to be a star. He's trying to be reliable. And that's gold in the NFL. Now imagine being the Browns right now. You've invested hundreds of millions into one of the most controversial quarterback contracts in league history. You're navigating a brutal division. Your fan base is constantly on edge. And in the background, you got a guy like Shedeur developing at warp speed and other teams starting to notice. The Browns are in a classic NFL conundrum. Do you double down on what you've already sold to your fans? Or do you admit that maybe, just maybe, you've got something better quietly brewing right behind the curtain? If they wait too long, they'll have no choice. Because once a guy like Shedeur is ready to start, he's not going to sit in silence forever. And other teams know it. This is how quarterback sagas begin. It starts as a whisper, a trade rumor, a mention on a podcast. Then a sideline clip goes viral. Then the starter struggles. Then the fans start chanting the backup's name in the fourth quarter. You think Cleveland isn't one bad loss away from that? This team has lived in instability. Quarterback controversies are practically part of the brand at this point. And the worst part? They always act like they didn't see it coming. But this time, there's no excuse. Shedeur Sanders has been putting on a development clinic. He's been vocal, intentional, and consistent. He hasn't asked for anything. He's earned everything. And now the Bengals are watching with interest. Strategic interest. They're not desperate. They're just prepared. That's how great organizations operate. They don't wait for the market to set the price. They set the price themselves. And if that means pressing the NFL for a trade, so be it. And the Browns? They'll have a choice. Let Sanders walk and risk watching him thrive somewhere else? Or lock him in now and start rethinking your entire quarterback strategy. It's not an easy decision, but it's coming. Because Shedeur Sanders is not going away. He's not a preseason storyline. He's not a novelty because of his last name. He's the real thing. And it's becoming impossible to ignore. This isn't just about talent. It's about trajectory. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is heading in one direction. Up. So let's ask the real question. Who's going to blink first? Will the Browns finally recognize the quarterback they have and shift the long-term plan? Or will they hold on to their current structure and risk watching Sanders walk into another locker room and become exactly what they needed all along? And if it's Cincinnati who gets him, oh man, that's a nightmare scenario for Cleveland. Because not only would they lose a future star, they'd lose him to a division rival. A team that knows how to win. A team that develops young talent with surgical precision. A team that will have no problem putting him in the spotlight when the time is right. Imagine the headlines. Shedeur Sanders torches Browns in first career start with Bengals. You don't think that's exactly how this would go? You don't think the football gods would write that script just to punish Cleveland for mismanaging another quarterback? Because let's not forget, this franchise has been here before. Over and over and over. Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Brandon Whedon, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield. It's like a Greek tragedy in shoulder pads. And now, they finally stumbled onto a kid with genuine promise. And the first sign of league-wide interest sends everyone into panic mode. Classic Cleveland. But hey, maybe this time's different. Maybe the Browns see what they've got. Maybe they build around it. Maybe they show the kind of patience and foresight that's eluded them for years. Or maybe the Bengals get their guy. And if that happens, don't say you weren't warned. Yes, we're talking about you, Cleveland. You got a Ferrari sitting in the garage. And somehow you're still out here jump-starting a used SUV with a blown transmission. But before we get into the Browns' blind spot, let's take a moment to really appreciate what Shedeur Sanders is doing. Because it's rare. You got a rookie quarterback who isn't pouting about being benched. He's not demanding a trade. He's not playing passive-aggressive chess on social media. No cryptic posts. No God's plan. Tweets after every practice rep. Just work. Just leadership. Just a guy laser-focused on getting better. And that, in today's NFL media circus, is revolutionary. This isn't the next flashy rookie QB narrative. This is the slow burn. This is the guy quietly becoming unignorable. The guy who's not supposed to be the story, but somehow is, because every time Shedeur speaks, you hear the maturity, the detail, the obsession with the craft, and you realize, oh, he's not just here to compete. He's here to take someone's job. Whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, that clock is ticking. And Cincinnati? They hear it too. Think about what it means for a team with Joe Burrow under contract to still be nosing around another quarterback. That's not panic. That's planning. The Bengals don't want a backup quarterback. They want a succession plan. And when the rumors started swirling that Cincinnati was putting quiet pressure on the league to facilitate a trade for Shedeur, that wasn't a Hail Mary. That was a calculated move. They're not betting on hype. They're betting on tape. On the guy who's been out there every week facing top-tier talent in practice and showing growth, real growth, who's digesting NFL-level defenses with no fanfare, no ego, and no gimmicks. And here's the real kicker. This whole thing, it didn't even start with Shedeur. It started when someone in the Browns organization gave him the chance to run scout team reps. Just reps. No spotlight. No headlines. Just opportunity. And like any great player in the making, he didn't just take that opportunity. He made it louder than most starters do on Sundays. Ask around. Players on that Browns defense are already talking about him with respect. It's subtle, quiet, but it's there. They've seen the reads. They've seen the poise. They've seen the fire. And when guys like Myles Garrett start nodding quietly after practice instead of clowning on a rookie, that means something. But here's where it gets really twisted. The Browns might still not see it. Because when you've already married your future to a $230 million quarterback, the last thing you want to admit is that the guy you found afterward, the quiet rookie with no expectations, is out here making your whole QB room look shaky. It's like investing everything into a beachfront mansion and realizing the real gold was buried in the backyard of your rental property. But the NFL doesn't wait for your ego to catch up. And Shedeur? He's not waiting either. So now we're staring down the barrel of a situation that could go one of three ways. Option 1. Cleveland wakes up. They realize what they've got. They lean into it. They build around him. Not next week, not next year, but now. They protect their future before someone else steals it. Option 2, they do nothing. They stall. They sit on their investment, keep the optics clean, and hope Shedeur's development doesn't outpace their timeline. But eventually, he wants to play. And eventually, he's too valuable to just keep. Option 3, Cincinnati moves. Quietly, strategically, persuasively. They slide in with the right offer, the right pitch, and the right infrastructure. And Cleveland, stuck in their own web of quarterback chaos, panics, fumbles it, and lets a future star walk into the arms of a division rival that actually knows what to do with him. You want drama? That's your script. Imagine Shedeur, sitting behind Burrow for a year or two, developing even further under a stable offensive system. Then imagine what happens when he steps into a starting role, whether through injury, evolution, or trade. And now imagine the Browns having to face that version of Shedeur twice a year. Do you understand the poetic punishment that would be? That's not just a PR nightmare. That's football karma. That's what happens when you develop something rare and don't recognize it in time. That's what happens when the building's on fire and you keep arguing over who bought the matches. And here's what makes it sting even more. The fans already know. Browns fans? They're no fools. They've seen this cycle too many times. They know when something's not right. They know when a backup is juice. They remember what it felt like the first time they saw Baker step in, or the chaos that followed with every next guy. And now, there's a growing section of this fan base that's already starting to whisper the same thing. Why are we giving this kid a shot? You don't get that kind of energy without reason. You don't generate that buzz from practice reps unless something real is happening. The question is, will the Browns listen? Or will they wait until Shedeur is doing post-game interviews in another team's colors, thanking Cleveland for believing in him, while casually dropping 275 yards and 3 TDs in a revenge game? Because that feels inevitable. So let's land this plane. This is more than a rumor, more than a backup battle. This is a crossroads moment for a franchise known for fumbling them. The Bengals have seen the tape. The NFL is whispering. The fan base is watching. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not trying to make headlines. He's trying to make history. And the only thing standing between him and that spotlight? A front office that has to decide, finally, whether they're going to protect what they've built or lose it to someone smarter. What's brewing here isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about something every NFL fan knows too well. That pit in your stomach feeling when your team is holding something special and might just let it walk out the door. You feel it, right? You've seen this before. The young QB who has it, even if it's not showing up in box scores yet. The guy grinding behind the scenes, saying the right things, building chemistry, putting in the work. And then, poof, another team sees the value first. They swoop in, offer a little more vision, a little more structure, a little more belief. And that's the part that stings the most. It's not just losing the talent. It's watching someone else appreciate what you didn't. If the Bengals get Shedeur, that's what this becomes. A story of misvision. And we all know the Browns can't afford another one of those. Because let's be real. How many chances does a franchise get before it becomes the punchline forever? The Browns have already burned through a graveyard of quarterbacks, bad contracts, awkward coaching changes, and rebrands that promised the world and delivered 6-win seasons. But this is different. Shedeur isn't another overhyped draft pick. He's not here to be a savior. He's not shouting for the spotlight. He's doing something much more dangerous to the status quo. He's earning it, rep by rep, week by week. And teams like Cincinnati, they're watching. Not for today, maybe not even for this season, but for the moment the Browns blink. And if that happens and he ends up across the field in a striped helmet, there will be no one else to blame. And don't get it twisted. If the Browns lose him, they'll try to spin it. Too many QBs in the room. Looking out for the kid's future. We had to make a tough call. But you'll remember these rumors. This moment. This energy. The Bengals smelled it first. Now it's on the Browns to either step up or explain later why they let a culture-shifting quarterback develop under their noses and did absolutely nothing with it. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders getting traded. It's about whether Cleveland finally learns to protect its future or, once again, becomes a team better at training quarterbacks for someone else. What do you think? Is Shedeur the Browns' golden ticket? Or are the Bengals about to pull off the greatest QB heist in recent memory? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more of this kind of NFL storytelling, drama, decisions, and everything in between. And like this video if you've ever screamed at your TV. Why are we letting him go? Because if this trade goes down, Cleveland won't need a rebuild. They'll need a therapy session.